Hello and welcome. Today I want to show you everything there is to know about discoveries. So discovered attacks and discovered checks. And this is a very important weapon to have in your tactical arsenal along with pins, forks, skewers, various other things. This is something used to win material or checkmate the opponent, so you must know this. Let's jump straight into it. In the first position, you are playing as white, and you may notice that this queen is undefended, and this leads to an idea. Oh, I wish I could move my bishop away so that my queen attacks their queen. However, if you move the bishop randomly, they have a move in order to fix this problem, to either take your queen or to somehow defend theirs with another piece. So the key to a discovered attack is to do the most damage possible with a piece that's moving. So if you were to give a check with the bishop, then there's no way they could save the queen. In other words, bishop to h7 is the best move here, and pretty much they have to take, after which we simply take the free queen. So a discovered attack or discovered check is when you discover the attack on one of their pieces by moving another one of yours. So the bishop move here discovers the attack on the undefended queen. One cool thing to know is that there's multiple types of discovered attack. The first one, the one that we just saw, is an absolute discovered attack, where it basically involves a check. Whereas the second one, in our second example, it has nothing to do with the enemy king. It doesn't feature a check, it's just relative among the pieces. So the second one is called relative discovered attack. So what we have is a sort of an X-ray attack towards the enemy knight. So essentially any bishop move will simply attack the knight with the rook. So you may as well do the most damage with the piece that's moving. In this case, the most damaging move to black would be to attack the other knight. And now they're in a bit of a weird situation. Two pieces are under attack, but they only have one move. So they move one, we take the other. They move one, we take the other. And there's no special move, so black loses a piece. And finally, the third type of discovered attack is the terminal discovered attack. Terminal just meaning game ending. So here, the move bishop to h6 threatens checkmate while also discovering the attack on the queen. And between checkmate or the queen, black would much rather lose the queen, although that's pretty bad too. So let's say they play f6 to block the checkmate. There would be rook takes queen, which is effectively game over. And there's no special move for black, which uses the queen to protect the checkmate or something like this. To show you a real game example of a discovered attack in action, I'm going to use the French defense as an example. Let's say the advanced variation. And in this variation, there's like a famous thing that black players do wrong. So the idea of this is that they want to take away the center from white. And if white sort of survives the center, then they're just doing well. So let's say queen b6 is played, and white sets up a little bit of a trap after bishop d3. It seems like white just blocked up their queen so that this pawn is free. However, this is a trap, because after queen takes pawn, we have a discovered attack on the enemy queen. So we just go bishop b5 check, and whatever they do against the check, we have time to take their queen. Even if they do knight c6, which looks like it's protecting, we can actually just take that knight with check again, and they have to recapture, and we take the queen. Alternatively, it's also good if we go back to just take the queen immediately, because this would be a pin on the knight. In your games, you might have something like this. Your opponent just takes a pawn, which looks undefended, but it's actually tactically protected by a discovered attack. However, in some other real games, you might find that you have a much more difficult version of this. It's not just going to appear on the board like this for you to just execute. You have to first set it up and then execute it. Let me show you an example of that. So here, we are playing as white, and it seems like we should be able to just like checkmate here, but any sort of queen h6 gets king g8, and any follow-up checks are through this square, which is protected, so there's not much here, but there is a discovered attack tactic in multiple moves. So I invite you to pause the video and give it a try. I'm going to spoil the solution in 3, 2, 1. The solution is queen e7 check, not just for the sake of the check, but for the sake of setting up a discovered attack on the enemy queen, which is undefended. So whatever they block with, we are going to continue rook g6, rook sacrifice, in order to pick up the queen, like so. So the tactic, even though the enemy king is wide open, is actually about the undefended queen. Generally speaking, in chess, whenever your opponent has an undefended piece, there's going to be some sequence of moves using a fork, pin, double attack, discovery, whatever, in order to exploit that piece. So keep a special eye out for when enemy pieces are undefended. Notice how we first had to set up the discovery and then execute it. So this is much more realistic to a game as opposed to expecting just it to appear on the board randomly. Those were discovered attacks. Let's move on to discovered checks, which are very similar because what's a discovered check? It's just a discovered attack on the king. So virtually the same thing, but the piece that you're discovering the attack on is a king. And all the principles are still the same with discovered attacks as well as discovered checks. The key idea still remains the same. Do the most damage you can with the piece that's discovering the attack, with the piece that's moving. So a lot of players would just say, oh, I can give a check. Okay. Some players might go aggressive, like, oh, knight f7, I pick up the queen or rook, but that's a little bit too close because of the move king takes f7, getting out of the check as well as taking the knight. So you have to really look at all of your aggressive moves and just go one by one and see what does the most damage. So these ones, unfortunately, get captured because they're too close, so we're left with these. And knight c6 actually just gets the queen. And taking the queen is just about as much damage as we could do outside of checkmating, so that's why this works. So it seems like our knight could get captured in 3 different ways, but remember, it's a check, so it's like your knight gets a shield for one move. That's a good way to think about it. And whatever they do here to cover against the check, we're going to take the queen. So if they cover with the bishop, knight takes queen, and even if they cover with the queen, our knight is still protecting that. So knight takes e7, and we are up a queen. If it weren't for this move, let's say that the queen was somewhere else, out of reach, let's say on c7 or something, then knight g6 would be the best, taking a rook. So you go down the line. Either you checkmate, or you take a queen, or you take a rook, or you take a minor piece, or you take a pawn, something like this. So the most damage, the least damage. And also to show you, there's a type of discovered check called a double check. A double check is exactly what it sounds, check from 2 pieces at the same time. So here we have a discovered check, and the first type of discovery to look at is a double check. Can you give check with the piece that's moving? Because a double check is one of the most powerful tactics there is in chess. And let me show you why. Because against a double check, the king must move. So let's say knight takes f6, check from the knight and check from the rook. And because it's check from 2 different pieces, there's no blocking the path of one of the attackers because the other one is still there. There's no capturing the knight. The rook is still here. So against a double check, the king must move. And currently, there's nowhere to move the king. So for that reason, this is checkmate. Similar to how knight to h6 would be checkmate, equally as knight to f6. So double checks are one of the most powerful tactics in chess and very, very frequently lead to checkmate. The last pattern I have to show you, this is a little bit advanced, so just treat it as a fun fact. This is the windmill. The windmill is one of the most rare and one of the most powerful tactics in chess because right now white is completely winning. Even though we're down half the board, this is the material imbalance, and they're 16 points up. But white is completely winning, and white doesn't even need to checkmate. I mean, they cannot checkmate. The point is that you use a sequence of discovered checks to pick up literally everything. So probably you notice that knight f7 forks just about anything, but that's not the key. The key is that you can take every single piece and come back. That's the windmill. So you take this one, that's a double check, king must move, and you come back. And you reach the same position without this rook, and you just keep going. Take the queen, they have to go back, you go back. And once the sequence is done, there's still no checkmate. We're just up a piece in an endgame. So the way you would win this is just activate your king, get a passed pawn, push your pawns until you get a queen, and so on. So the point is that this windmill pattern is extremely rare and extremely powerful. Why is it extremely rare? Because it's a lot of things have to line up for this to work. Let's just say it like that. So here, let's say that this bishop was anything else. If this was a rook, they could just sacrifice it to break this sequence and still be up half the board. If this was a queen, they could sacrifice. If this was a knight, then after the first check, they could just block the path. And after we give a check again, they just run away. If that's an empty square, then after the first one, they just run away. So this absolutely has to be a bishop. And something else that's very interesting no two pieces of blacks can block this bishop. So for example, if I take this one, you could put the rook here, or you could put the rook here. But both of those we just capture with checks. So there's going to be some instances of windmills where the move order is important, and some when it's not. In this case, you could take whichever one of these three in whichever order and still be completely winning. So treat the windmill as a fun fact, because you're never going to see this in your games. I can tell you from my experience, I've been playing chess for 18 years now, and I've seen this in my games once. And I had it, and I used it because it's very easy to do. So every single move is a check. You can't really go wrong, but the chances of you having this are slim to none. To finish off the day, here's a small puzzle for you as homework. It's white to move and win. Drop your best solution down in the comments below, and while you're down there at the comments, tell me how the sound quality is. Is my voice clear? Because it's my first time recording in this room, so let me know if it needs any upgrades. I'm also going to use this opportunity to remind you that I'm still accepting students in my personalized one-on-one coaching program. So if you're interested in improving even faster than just with these YouTube videos, let me know down through the link in the description and we will talk. Thank you very much for watching. I hope everything made sense, and consider subscribing to my channel to see more stuff like this. Have an awesome week, and I'll talk to you very soon. Take it easy.